Wow, it's been a few months since I've finished season 10. I kept putting it off. I don't know for what reason. First episode, we get Peter Capital and Bill. Fucking love Bill. So sad she only got one season. By far one of my favorite companions. Though Martha will always be my number one. Martha's just awesome. Anyways, we get an episode with Peter Capital trying to, take it down a notch. He's working for this college or some shit, and he ends up bumping into this student, Bill, and we get in an adventure with them. Bill is trying to date this girl with a weird looking eye. She's got like a star in her eye. I didn't mean that in a rude way. That probably came off rude. And the adventure's about like this weird puddle, and the puddle ends up overtaking her. So that girl's basically dead now. I don't know. It's an odd episode. It's decent enough, but I kind of just forgot about it. I had thought that Bill's first episode in the TARDIS was her first episode. I don't know why, but honestly, not the greatest episode in my opinion. The second episode is called Smile, and it's about these malfunctioning robots that kill people who are not smiling. It's a pretty terrifying episode at times, and it's really fucking good. I do want to point out, simply because in a later episode, Bill, she's she sees somebody die, and she's like, obviously, has a bad reaction to it. While the doctor, most of the time it doesn't really faze him. But she points out the fact, because in this episode, right, she does see dead people. She sees skeletons on stuff, but she points out that it's different because she actually saw people die in that later episode, but she sees people die in the Smile episode. People get like shot and disintegrated in that episode. So she does see people die. I don't know how the show forgot that. It was in her first adventure. How do you forget that? Why'd you write that in? She saw people die. She didn't just see the skeletons of already dead people. The next episode is called Thin Ice, where there's a creature under the ice. It's a pretty good episode. The doctor punches a racist in the face. After he, of course, it's used more as a joke more than anything. This guy doesn't really get his comeuppance from what I remember. He doesn't really get what's coming to him. But it's used more as a joke because the doctor walks in and tells people to be calm. But then he fucking punches the guy in the face. So, I liked that. It was pretty funny. Bill starts renting this house with a bunch of her friends. The episode is called Knock Knock. It's episode 4. It's a fine episode. I thought it would have been better if the people died. I know that probably sounds fucked up, but seriously, there's no stakes to this episode. Throughout the episode, we see these people get like consumed by the house, and then they're just fine at the end. And then we never see the characters again. Like, you could have killed a few of them off. Who cares? We never see them again. In the episode Oxygen, they are wearing spacesuits that are trying to kill them. It's an amazing episode. I really like it. We get a good doctor speech, which it's Peter Capital. He's always doing a good doctor speech. I especially like the one he did in the Zygot episode about, how war always ends with people talking anyway. That's such a fucking good speech, and it really stuck with me. But anyway, this episode's pretty good. Bill seems pretty terrified at one point. It seems like she's genuinely gonna die, but she doesn't. Pretty good episode. The doctor is also rendered blind after this episode for a little while. um, which was pretty cool. He was still able to handle stuff pretty well, and the way he ends up having to reveal to Bill he's blind because he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to show weakness because it's the doctor. It's really heartbreaking, and she ends up able to save him though in the end. The next episode I really don't remember that much about, so I can't really say much about it. But episode 6, Extremists, it's about a book that has killed everybody who's read it, and they encourage the doctor to read it. Obviously, he doesn't die though, unlike other people. Episode 7, the doctor encourages Bill and others to make their own decision in an episode where a clock has appeared at the pyramid. And a pyramid has appeared overnight. It's, obviously not natural to have a pyramid appear overnight. It's a pretty solid episode. The doctor gets a bit grumpy at times. The second episode is very different because it's a two-parter. So let's talk about this episode. They briefly show Trump. Nothing major, but they're like showing major events on like a screen in the background, and Trump is briefly on there. It's a blink and you'll miss it. He's also mentioned in the episode with the Master. So yeah, they were mentioning Trump. They call him Orange in one episode. They mentioned him a handful of times this season. I wonder if they'll continue to do so with Jodie Whittaker's version of the Doctor. So far, I've watched 3 of her episodes, because I've started hers before I reviewed this. But Bill ends up picking the wrong decision, and now the Doctor is working with these like creatures, and he is trying to change it, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like he's willingly working with these people at first, and Bill straight up tries to fucking shoot him. But it's all okay because the Doctor knew she was gonna do that and had made the guns non-lethal. Very crazy two-parter. I really enjoyed them. We also have an episode called Empress of Mars, which is about the queen of an alien species that we have met before. Once with Matt Smith's Doctor. They also could have been in the original series, but I haven't seen the original series. But we've at least seen them before somewhat recently. We've seen them with Matt Smith. So it was cool to see them return. They end up showing mercy and letting this guy live. It's a pretty good episode, pretty solid episode. The Eaters of Light episode is amazing. It is an episode about the Doctor and Bill trying to learn more about the disappearance of the Roman army. Peter Capital assumes they're all just dead. Bill is on the more positive side and believes they're still alive, which turns out to be true. But they are still having fights with another army, and there isn't that many of them left. And there's also this creature that they have to end up defeating. At the end of the episode, it's revealed that like time works differently. I mean, it's revealed somewhat earlier in the episode, but it matters more here. So Peter Capital insists on staying to take care of it, since he's basically immortal. He could deal with this creature, but they decide to do it themselves and force the Doctor to not do it. It's a pretty good episode. We get John Sim back as the Master in this two-parter. The second episode's called The Doctor Falls, but he does not die just yet. In this two-parter, John Sim, he's not as good as he was in previous episodes that we had saw him in. He's just fucking weird here. He's flirting with himself, which is a whole other thing to get into. And there's a boner joke. There's a fucking boner joke in Doctor Who. They've made jokes about porn before, like Matt Sniff saying, "Blimey, get a girlfriend, Jeff," when he needs to borrow Jeff's computer and Jeff was watching something on it. Or with Peter Capital, I think it was last season. It was, he was like, "Don't look at my browser history," and the girl goes, "Oh wow," and he says, "Yeah, I said don't." But it's fucking weird in this context because he's talking to himself. I didn't like John Sim in this episode. Missy was still pretty cool though. They turned Bill into a fucking Cyberman. Oh, it's so heartbreaking, but it ends up not being that bad because she gets a happy ending. It's weird. Good for her though. I probably would have been really sad if one of my favorite characters got a happy ending. A bad ending. But at the same time, it just shows that sometimes Doctor Who can't pull the trigger. They send you with this heartbreaking moment, and then they back out on it not too long later. It doesn't really make much sense. She gets her happy ending with the previous girlfriend I had mentioned, and they get to explore the universe together. Really cool ending. She's also in the final episode with the first Doctor returning, but different actor. The actor had passed away not too long after he had quit being the Doctor. I believe he passed away in 1972, and he only played the Doctor till I believe 1969, maybe 68. It was the 60s. He played him for 3 years. But yeah, his reveal was fucking amazing though. The guy that Bill had been with the whole time that she thought was her friend was actually the Master, turning her into a Cyberman. Just wow. Very heartbreaking. But like I said, they just kind of turned that around. The Doctor refuses to regenerate, which apparently is what he did when he was the first Doctor. I wouldn't know since I didn't watch the original one, so they kind of spoil that, but it makes sense, it's been around long enough. I didn't really like the first Doctor, not that the performance was bad, but he's mainly just there to make sexist jokes, and Peter Capital will be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he said that." So I guess the original Doctor was sexist during his run of the show, which is, I guess, kind of surprising in my opinion anyway, because I believe Doctor Who was one of the first shows to have a black person on it in a major role in an astronaut episode with the first Doctor. But I guess sexism and racism are two different things. So the Doctor was fine with black people but drew the line at women. He just says a lot of weird shit, and that's the main thing about him. I don't get it, man. Imagine being told that you're gonna play someone as iconic as the very first ever Doctor, and then being told, by the way, you're gonna be saying a lot of sexist shit. Come on. That's gotta suck. The Doctor ends up deciding to regenerate. He has his speech, the Be Kind speech. It's really fucking good. It is good. I really liked it. So now I will be watching Jodie Whittaker some more. The only reason I hadn't been watching her season was because I don't want to have to review 2 whole seasons of a show back to back. So now I'll be watching her more that I've finally reviewed this.